I'd like to ask how you
Oh, I'm
view.
sorry, I didn't, okay, well, go ahead, you can start. I thought I hadn't seen you, I'd seen it, but you can go, because you're first on that row. So.
Okay, great. Thank you so
As a
much.
well-oiled machine, ladies and gentlemen, so go ahead, I'm sorry, man.
Thanks. I'd like to ask how you view recent escalation of tensions between Japan and China. You've been known for your tough rhetoric towards China over the years. Do you condemn China's recent provocative actions against Japan?
Yeah, no, I think I've been nice to China, in terms of the work we have to do with them. And I had another job. My job now is I represent the President of the United States and the United States in foreign diplomacy. And I think we've made good progress with the Chinese. The Japanese are a very close ally of the United States. I think these tensions are pre-existing. We understand that's one of the dynamics that has to be balanced in that region. And I believe that we feel very strongly that we can continue with our strong, firm partnership and alliance with Japan and do so in a way that continues to allow us to find productive ways to work together with the Chinese Communist Party and the Chinese government. Look, there'll be tensions, there's no doubt about it. I mean, at the end of the day, China is and it will continue to be a rich and powerful country and a factor in geopolitics. We have to have relations with them. We have to deal with them. We have to find the things we are able to work together on. And I think both sides are mature enough to recognize that there will be points of tension now and for the foreseeable future. Our job as part of responsible statecraft is to find opportunities to work together, because I think if there's a global challenge that China and the U.S. can work together on, I think we can solve it. And there'll be points of tension. We well recognize that, and our job is to balance these two things. I think both sides understand that. And I think we can do that without imperiling or in any way undermining our very firm commitment to our partners in the Indo Pacific. That includes not just Japan, but South Korea. And obviously, if you extend further out, I don't want to leave anybody out, but India and Australia and New Zealand and all the other countries. And we also have growing and burgeoning relationships with countries like Vietnam and even Cambodia that we really haven't had, very close contacts with historically. But we've talked to them a lot lately, obviously through the context of the conflict going on with Thailand, but also to figure out opportunities to work together strategically. And I say Thailand, of course, we've had a very long and strong strategic alliance with them for many years. All right, now, yes, sir.
Thank you. Gracias, señor secretario. Dos puntos concretos en español. Bajo esta lógica hemisférica, ¿han considerado ampliar la presión más allá de Venezuela o Colombia a regímenes como los de Nicaragua o Cuba? Y segundo, esta semana en el Congreso se denunciaba que México está mandando decenas de buques petroleros a Cuba con la preocupación de que eso financia la dictadura. ¿Debería México reconsiderar esta política de asistencia al régimen cubano?
I'm going to answer in Spanish if that's okay, guys, and then I'll do it in English as well. And does somebody do closed caption on that? Can they do it? It doesn't matter, because I'm going to say the same thing in English. Mira, la amenaza más importante que existe en la región es estos grupos terroristas criminales. Es la amenaza que enfrenta a Colombia, es la amenaza que enfrenta al hemisferio entero, pero es la raíz de la violencia en Ecuador, en México, en todo Centroamérica, en todos estos países. Es la amenaza más primordial de la región. Entonces tenemos gobiernos que cooperan en nuestros esfuerzos en contra de eso. Panamá, Costa Rica, Ecuador, El Salvador, la República Dominicana. No dejo a nadie fuera, pero son muchos que cooperan. Tenemos y seguimos teniendo muy buenas relaciones con los equipos de seguridad de Colombia. Entiendo que el presidente de Colombia es una persona inusual, pero encima de eso tenemos, al nivel institucional, tenemos muy buenas relaciones y con México. El gobierno de México está haciendo más en este momento en el tema de seguridad que jamás en su historia. Queda mucho por hacer, pero tenemos cooperación. En el tema de Venezuela no tenemos eso, tenemos un régimen ilegítimo que no simplemente no coopera con Estados Unidos, sino coopera abiertamente con elementos criminales. Por ejemplo, el ELN y la FARC operan abiertamente desde territorio venezolano. Entidades de narcotráfico operan abiertamente y con la cooperación del régimen de Maduro para mandar drogas como cocaína a Estados Unidos a través del Caribe, creando una situación muy grave de seguridad en muchísimos países, inclusive Trinidad, República Dominicana, etc. Así que Estados Unidos lo que simplemente está buscando es la seguridad del hemisferio, que incluye, por ejemplo, Haití también. Y no hemos visto enfocado en eso. Obviamente los esfuerzos en contra de los barcos narcotraficantes saliendo de Venezuela han recibido mucha atención. Lo que no se habla lo suficiente, lo que estamos haciendo también en el mar Pacífico, donde hay esfuerzos andando también. La diferencia es que ahí tenemos la cooperación de gobiernos amigos. Lo que no se está hablando es lo que estamos haciendo junto con los mexicanos. Lo que no se está hablando es lo que estamos haciendo para crear una fuerza de estabilidad antipandilla dentro de Haití. Lo que no se está hablando es toda la cooperación que existe con todos estos gobiernos para llevar a cabo esta guerra en contra de estos elementos terroristas, criminales, que operan abiertamente dentro de nuestra región y que amenazan los estados de esta región. La buena noticia es que este nuevo año nos va a traer más gobiernos en el hemisferio que están dispuestos a cooperar en países como Bolivia, en Chile. Obviamente ya tenemos grandes amistades en lugares como Paraguay y Argentina. Y en fin, la reelección del presidente en Ecuador, la cooperación que existe en muchos países y esperemos poder ampliar esas relaciones con otros países también. Así que el esfuerzo se trata de eso y en eso estamos enfocados. Y obviamente tenemos que determinar cuáles son las fuentes de inseguridad en la región. Y esa fuente, la razón por la cual Venezuela ha recibido tanta atención, es porque Venezuela es un país que no simplemente, es un régimen ilegítimo, que no simplemente no coopera con nosotros, sino abiertamente coopera con elementos criminales y terroristas, incluyendo Hezbollah, Irán y otros. Y obviamente estos grupos narcos cooperan abiertamente desde ahí. You know, the question that and it's a question many of you might have as well, is when it comes to the Western Hemisphere, the single most serious threat to the United States from the Western Hemisphere is from transnational terrorist criminal groups, primarily focused on narco trafficking, but they're in all sides businesses as well. So the good news is we have a lot of countries in the region that openly cooperate and work with us to confront these challenges. Mexico, their level of cooperation with us is the highest it's ever been in their history. Throughout Central America, for the most part, except for maybe Nicaragua and to some extent Honduras, we've had great cooperation from Ecuador, from El Salvador, from Ecuador being in South America, but across the Pacific coast, we're also undertaking efforts. Guatemala, Costa Rica, Panama, these are all nations that cooperate with us openly in search of stability in the region. You move to the Caribbean basin, in Trinidad, in Guyana, in Jamaica, in the Dominican Republic, countries that openly cooperate with us. Even Colombia, despite its unusual president, has institutions in that country that work very closely with us, and those ties remain unimpeded and unaffected. So all of this is very positive. There's one place that doesn't cooperate, and it's the illegitimate regime in Venezuela. Not only do they not cooperate with us, they openly cooperate with terrorist and criminal elements. For example, they invite Hezbollah in Iran to operate from their territory. But they also allow the ELN and the FARC dissidents not just to operate from inside of Venezuelan territory, to control Venezuelan territory, unencumbered, unimpeded. On top of that, we know that they are in cahoots with drug trafficking organizations. It's not just that they don't work with us against these organizations. Okay? It's that they openly, cooperate with these guys and allow them to operate. So these guys are, marching in and out, doing whatever they want from Venezuelan territory, and it's a challenge. And so that's why that's received so much attention. But I would urge you to not just focus on that, but also focus on all the other things we're doing in the region, including, for example, standing up this gang suppression force in Haiti, which we were looking for 5,500 forces. We already have pledges of up to 7,500 forces from a variety of countries. We've seen donors step up to fund that effort. That's a very important effort. It all ties together cohesively. But the goal here is to bring security and stability to the hemisphere, to the region we live in, okay, which has not received enough attention. To bring the elements of American power to achieve that, to do it in partnership with as many countries as are willing to work with us in that regard. That's the goal here, and it's comprehensive and involves more than just one place. What makes Venezuela stand out is that the regime there actually cooperates with the terrorists. Yes, sir. In that row right there. Yeah, right there in the middle.
The hemisphere. The White House recently put out the national security strategy, essentially reorienting towards the Western Hemisphere.
It was
How
good,
is the
right?
strategy going to, yeah.
Well, I was involved.
So
in
you can
writing.
answer
Yeah,
from
yeah.
both hats, I
Yeah,
guess,
exactly.
but how is that strategy going to dictate your relationship with other hemispheric powers like Canada and Mexico?
No, I mean, we want to partner with as many people. I mean, they face the same threats that we do. I mean, it's Mexican mayors that are being assassinated in public squares. It's Mexican journalists that are being assassinated. It's parts of Mexico and institutions in Mexico that in some cases are compromised, usually through threat by these elements. They recognize it, which is why they're partnering with us. Of course, we want to work with other governments in the region to confront this challenge. And in most cases, we have cooperative places. Now, we don't have that from Nicaragua or Cuba, but obviously didn't have it historically from Bolivia. We hope and expect that that will change. And we certainly don't have that from the regime in Venezuela, who actually don't just not cooperate with us, they openly cooperate with narco trafficking elements that use Venezuela as a transshipment point. Yes, ma'am.